All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Purple Podcast. I believe this is episode number 36 now. We're moving on to our second Last of Us review episode. So this will be for episode 2. That's how that works. That's how numbers operate. But quick side note before that, we will be having a top 10s with Coach Mikey on Friday. So clap, 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 clap. It hasn't happened yet, so we don't get too excited about it because we're liable to fuck it up again. Scheduling's just been a little difficult. That's how things go. I know I've said that a ton, but it just is the case with it. But into The Last of Us, it's been having great reviews. Coming back, just looking at some Instagram posts over the past week that I did save. How you like that, guys? This reporting. The Last of Us shows high Rotten Tomato score breaks video game curse. That's one of them. That's from Screen Rant. They might all be from Screen Rant, to be honest. The Last of Us premiere debut, second highest a decade, beating Game of Thrones and Euphoria. So aside from House of Dragon, this is the second highest debut show in HBO, in this decade. And the third and final one, coming into, just prior to this last episode in the viewership for this second episode. It says The Last of Us Episode 2's audience was up 22% from debut. Biggest jump ever for HBO. So to say that it has probably broken the curse at this point, which is something that we did talk about a lot last week. I think we're good. I think it's true. Another really cool thing about HBO and what I love about it, I heard this on another podcast regarding the show, in just discussing about HBO, is what other, company that's releasing shows is dropping one episode a week. How many of them can make you, wait that week? And what's great about it is because then it creates all these theories. Everyone's watching this show at the same exact time each week. You're seeing all the things on Twitter about it, all the social media posts. It's just fun to follow a show that you enjoy a lot and being able to commit at that moment. The rest of the world's watching as well. It's like a sporting event, but it's been, honestly, it's a lot more fun than I've had watching sports in a while. So, just every night you press play, 9 p.m. on Sundays, you hear that opening theme starting, and, I'm ready to have a good night at that point. Other things, in regards to that, basically the Twitter rants and everything like that, I saw a ton of bread thoughts, so as to how the fungus came about. So they're thinking bread because there were a lot of places where Joel and Ellie both did not eat bread, so didn't have a cake for the birthday. That would have had to use flour. I said bread theme, but flour. No cake for B-Day. No pancakes in the morning. Didn't eat that biscuit because he's on Atkins. Didn't eat cookies because they were raisin cookies. That's how they narrowly avoided getting sick, because they all but confirmed it. I guess they did confirm it at this point, that this is how the fungus came about. It was through flour. Let's hop into the episode. Let's begin the review of this one, the recap and review. But this episode is titled Infected. We deal a lot more like it. But another cold start where it's just a scene that doesn't apply to the story that we're actually following right now, but giving us backstory. So I'm thinking at this point, this is probably going to be something that they do at the beginning of episode, which I'm all for. I've really loved these flashback episodes to give you just an idea, tell a different story aside from this main one right now, and give you some more ideas so as to how everyone else was handling the situation, where it began, and that's where this starts here. So we open in Jakarta, which I had mentioned on the last episode as well. They call it back on the radio. This appears to be patient zero or ground zero for the fungal infection, I guess you can call it. I don't even know infection, but it's a hot spot for it. This is the largest flour factory in the world. So we begin in Jakarta. We see this woman, eating or drinking tea, where she is taken away by some, authority figures. She's not being arrested. They just wanted to cooperate. They go back to this lab. They show her something on a slide where she says this is Ophiocordyceps, but why is it in something or another? And they say that's because it's from a human. They show her these first infected, and essentially it's over. That's what she says. So they said, how long ago did this happen? She asked some qualifying questions to this guy after she examines the guy, and that fungus starts with that. I guess it was a woman, but it was dead, so it just infected. Said this happened just last night, and 14 others are missing. So she ends up saying there are no vaccines. There is no way to cure this. Bomb the city. That's what we need to do. So, bam, it opens just like that. You see it. She wants to leave immediately to go see her family because she's saying it's over. If this can withstand being in humans and it's already acting like this, we can't do anything about it. The best hope is to bomb the city, which, obviously I'm sure we'll see from more on. That's what happened all over the world. That's what happened in Boston in this show. But I've been really enjoying these flashback episodes just to give you some context. That 2003, I told you on the last episode, like that was my favorite aspect of it, because everything leading up to the virus or the fungus initially taking over in the world, crashing, I think that aspect is just really, really fun to explore. So I can't wait to see what happens on this episode in terms of, is it going to be another flashback start? I think it will. I would put money on it, and I'm looking forward to what that scene is, because our past two episodes have had really strong tone set, from the first being that talk show, and now this one here just showing you, ground zero of this. Another interesting note with that is when she goes into that, I guess the big suit, I can't think of the name of it right now, but the suit to withstand any kind of illness or whatever you want to call it. Call back to Chernobyl to some degree, who is directing this show and also directed Chernobyl. So very similar kind of notes there. Anyways, we now jump back into the present time. We get to 2023, and we see Joel is pointing a gun at Ellie, because if you recall from last episode, it ended on them finding out that she is infected. She's been bit. So he's fully expecting her to change at some point. He is ready to kill her as soon as it happens as well. She's not turning. She does some quirky jokes. Ellie grew on me a bit in this episode. We'll touch on a little bit more later. But I did like, that's, further on. At the beginning here, she's still herself, and she never loses that piece of herself, but I think you get to see more of her. Right now all we know is that side of her. So she's doing little jokes about it. As I said in last episode, it was covered very quickly. They said, oh shit, she's bitten, and then immediately ran away. I guess it was by necessity, so they had to, and then they cover it right here for like a full kind of deep dive into like what the fuck's going on. They kind of pinch Ellie into revealing that her purpose is to be taken to make some kind of vaccine because she is immune to it. So it gives her a purpose. And I think at this point, Tess kind of starts believing a bit more. It takes Joel longer, and we do get there by the end of the episode. But Tess, I think, starts seeing the purpose at this point. But still, maybe she just likes her a bit more. She sees some hope in it. But she's still trying to get this transaction over. She's trying to reach the Fireflies and get their side of the deal. Moving on from this scene, we get our first good look at Boston, the bombed Boston. And this is where a major theme of the episode comes out that I've adored. Just the general scenery and, the production value, the settings. I think it just all looked great. As we touched on last episode, it's like, how do we keep making this feel like the game? This is how. I mean, the way this set looked was just beautiful. It made you feel like you were in the middle of the game, and it was just incredibly unique and just actually grabbed you. It's just something that continued to grab you throughout the season. You were always looking around and seeing everything about the world exploring. You weren't caught down a certain spot. So a lot of that started to show at this point. It's just like a little happy go round outside the QZ stroll for Ellie at first there, and then she hears one of them, scream out and brings them back to reality because she was having a great time. She'd never been outside the wall. That was all she had ever known, essentially. So she was having a great time, and then it got a little bit real. They go into the hotel. So this is a very similar thing from the video game as well. Here, it's a ruined city. The hotel check-in is actually a scene from the video game. Exactly how she asked, I'll take your finest suite, please. That is something that actually happened in the video game as well. So a cool little callback there. I don't remember all these callbacks, but I imagine some of them are. And then, when I watch reviews, they're like, oh, yeah, I do recall that. Because, like I said, I haven't played this game since 2014 would have been when I had finished it. But it was a, lasting impact. And I want to get a PS5 again. I'm always going to come back to that on these episodes. I just need to get a PS5 and play that game again. Next scene, we get through the hotel, get to the museum. At this point, even if you hadn't played the video game, you would imagine that something was going to go wrong at some point, or they were going to have some kind of scary interaction. You felt it. You felt the build-up. The hotel scene, you thought it might have happened in there, but nothing ended up really coming to it. So basically your question at that point was, when does it happen? When are we going to have this interaction? And that's when you get into the museum. I loved this scene as a whole because, like I said, I knew what was going to happen at some point. And even if you didn't play the video game, you would imagine it. And I think my connection with it has made this scene even better for me to some degree. But you're walking through this museum. You see this guy who got torn apart, and they're saying, what the hell did that? Ellie said, I've seen the infected, and they couldn't do that to me, essentially. So this is a different type of infected, and we're going to see that throughout. So we have, the most recent ones. I can't remember what they're called. Then there's stalkers. Then there's clickers. Then there's bloaters. Are we going to see bloaters? I think maybe. There's talk that they might be in there at some point. I guess maybe later down the line. I don't know for certain. You hear a lot of things when you're diving through all the Last of Us content here, and theories and things of that nature. But we see the clickers for the first time, and you instantly know that basically don't make a sound. They can't see you. I think the way they made them look was awesome. I really like the way they look. I like the way the sound aspect of clickers and just their general nature are awesome. They have echolocation. They make this threatening noise. They can be right by you. It's like the basilisk in fucking Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. It can be right by you. It's just don't make a noise. And you were just waiting the whole scene for, like a fucking Florida Creek, or I think it ended up being Ellie like gasping to some degree, and that thing just turns right on him on a dime. And then we get this fight scene, and not a shout out, what do we even call this? A shout fucking down for both Tess and Joel here. They cannot shoot for shit. Oh my God. Like, I get that it's scary, but if you're smugglers, you would imagine that you have some form of experience with these things, or at least having to shoot at them. Joel takes a shot from a foot away into the chest. He had like an M16. He had a big ass fucking gun, man. Shoot him in the head. Doesn't that make sense? Why are you just gonna body shot him? And we have this whole big scramble where you could have felt like they were gonna die. And honestly, this is where it makes the scene better for me. In the video game, I do remember it being pretty fucking difficult. The first encounters you had with clickers, but that makes more sense because I've never done it before. You would imagine that Tess and Joel have done it to some extent before, having been smugglers, of course. But the video game was tough, so I get it. You are aiming for those heads. You don't always get them, and you die. And obviously they can't die in this, but they get in that initial fight. They end up killing them. Tess starts getting very brief here, and and very action oriented. It's like, hey, let's do this. Let's get this job done. There's a reason. It's because she has been bitten. I take this. I'm doing this commentary in the idea that you've already seen it. So sorry if I ruined that for you. But Tess has been bitten. She doesn't tell him yet, but there are scenes going forward where you can tell she's, intentionally being brief. She's walking out ahead of Joel and Ellie. Throughout this whole episode, we start to see the beginning of, Ellie and Joel. They're not linked yet, but the grounds are beginning to be built. They still bust each other balls, and that's never going to end. So we're starting to see Ellie open up a bit more. Joel's a bit more reserved, but Ellie is, she tells a couple lies regarding her past. We know that how she, I guess this is a video game thing, so I'm not going to say this, but we know how she's been bit. She reveals a little bit into it, but it's more just hinting at it, and she's lying purposefully about it. But she is curious about it. She has some kind of trauma working in her, no doubt. And she's, to some degree, trying to open up. She's committing to this, adventure at this point because, she has nothing else to do. She has to do it. Joel is going to go back at some point. Tess is going to go back at some point. But getting back to where we're at in the story, we end up arriving at where Ellie was supposed to get dropped off, just to find the Fireflies have been, they're gone, they're missing. They go inside this room to find them there was a domino effect kind of deal where one of them got infected. They fought about, why, who's going to die, I guess, essentially. We don't know for a fact, but they've killed each other through an internal scuffle. So there's no reward. There's nothing that no one's taking Ellie at this point. And this is when Tess makes her stand and basically says, Joel, you have to take her. This shit's real. Oh, and Ellie gets bit. Ellie was bitten in that scene again as well. So now we get to really test if she's turning or going to turn or not. Tess reveals her arm, and it's all, wired out like the fungus is growing in her or some shit. And Ellie's hasn't done a thing, so she's saying, this is real, Joel. This is probably Tess's best part of the show so far. Or I guess that's a terrible thing to do. But her life's running out. This is the best part of her character in the show, I would say. Here, she convinces Joel, or basically tells him, take her. This is real. Maybe there's hope. And this is when, Joel, I think, there's a turning point in his own head to where, the hope, it's not fully there, but the idea of hope is coming back. I guess let's say that. I think that makes the most sense there. And this happens following, Joel kills one of those. He kills another infected, or one of the infected of the Fireflies. Tries to come back, kills it. And we learn earlier in the episode, and this is a really cool aspect as well, how everything's overgrown. This fungus has taken over the world. This cordyceps grows underground. It's connected to all these stalkers, infected, things of that nature. So when one dies, it'll alert those at other places, and they'll all come. They'll know where you're at that point. So this does happen. This is what creates the urgency, and this is what makes Tess say, you know what, I'm bitten, take her. I will buy you time. And then they just fucking go. Joel and her relationship, a lot of people are talking about it and really say like, oh, this was so hard for Joel. And I agree with that. I don't think it was difficult, but I don't think it was easy. But at the same time, I just don't know how. Like, would I even say I don't believe it? But it's like the relationship didn't grab me. It was more like out of necessity. But at the same time, there was definitely care. They needed each other out of necessity, and then they came to care of each other. You know what I mean? Like working partners. And maybe there were more, but I'm not sure about how much of like the feeling aspect of it. I guess it was their only person in a world with, having no person. So it definitely hurts. He's not going to have that partner. He's now going to have to take up this new call to action hero arc journey in transplant, moving Ellie across the nation. So the infected are coming. This is actually different in the TV show as well, how Tess makes her stand. She makes her stand against Fedra and gets killed. But in this one, I think it's a bit better. We have all these stalkers coming because they know they killed that one, so they felt it. They're coming to that area. Really weird scene. Tess has, I guess, booby trapped, poured gasoline all over the ground, grenades, things of that kind of, some of the leftover supplies and shit like that. And she's trying to light this lighter. Joel and Ellie are gone. Cannot light it for the fucking life of her, literally. All these infected are running by, and you're like, oh my God, is she not going to be able to light the goddamn lighter? And then one spies her. One sees her out, eyes her down, approaches slowly. And it makes more sense to me now because you think she was already infected, so maybe the fungus or whatever understands that she's one of them, and she doesn't try to fight it. So that's why they attack. That's why they typically are, attacking and fighting and violent. But it's one of them. It's not fighting back. Comes up to her, and she cannot light this thing. She cannot light this thing. And maybe she needs to stay still and not fight it and let it do the nasty fucking kiss thing. That's what I've been getting at. This thing walks up, and just a fungus starts coming out of its mouth. And she just lets it go right into her mouth. How fucking disgusting. I guess she had to get the lighter off, but could she not have backed up a couple steps, or would it have attacked her? I don't know, but god damn, it seems like the worst option is to let this nasty ass fungus. That's the thing. That's what's going to happen. Aside from burning to death or exploding, you're going to have fungus. This fungus ass shit in your mouth. Tess, way to go. Blaze of glory. Way to, sacrifice your life. But fuck, you didn't have to make it so bad for yourself. You could have made it nice and painless. But whatever. The job was done. The job was sealed. You make up for your terrible fighting with the clicker earlier. Joel still has to redeem himself because I'm not forgetting his nasty ass shot either there. So Tess is dead. Didn't see a lot of her character. Liked her character, served a purpose. I didn't buy all into her and Joel's relationship that much, or it didn't hurt me as much as it seems to maybe be hurting others. Maybe I just would have needed a little more tenderness there or something. Joel doesn't say goodbye, that's the whole thing. That's how he handles his emotions in this world. He suppresses them. He hides from them. He deletes them, which makes this ending so painful because now he has to take up Ellie and take care of this girl. She has a bigger purpose. And like I said earlier, it's not that he has necessarily hope yet, but it's that the idea of hope is back in him. There's something worth fighting for. And that's a lot of what we're going to see, going on. So he's going to come to grow closer with her, as I even did in this episode. So that's the end of the show. I'm looking forward to episode 3, or this episode. That's the end of this episode. Let's get into our categories now. So as we did last time, we'll get our favorite characters, favorite scenes, as well as our other things and themes. Favorite scenes, I would say that opening Jakarta scene was right up there with it. The next one being, that museum clicker fight scene, and then the test scene at the end. I think those would be my 3 options for the best, or my 3 favorites. So the ending there, Tess going out in a blaze of glory, the clicker scene, as well as the clicker fight scene, as well as Jakarta. I'm going to give it to the clicker fight scene because this took me straight back to the video game. I really love clickers. They're a very scary kind of zombie. Another thing just about all these zombies is that they're fast, which is even more horrific. You see the Walking Dead zombies, and they walk everywhere. You can get away from them. But the fast zombies, those are the ones that are freaking frightening. And then when they have no fucking eyes and use echolocation and have superhuman strength? Fuck me, right? But love that scene. That's my favorite scene, the clicker fight scene, just everything about that attention. I think it was very well done. Favorite characters in this one, Ellie, Joel, Tess. Those are our three options. Joel is going to go to the bottom of the list here because he was a terrible fucking shot and, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn and ultimately might have led to Tess being bit, if we're being honest there. But she had to die. Number 2, I'm going to go with Tess. That means Ellie's going to be number 1 for living on this one. But Tess, big baller move. You fumbled the bag a bit. You couldn't get a lighter to light, which obviously still could light because it did in the end. And also made dying a lot worse for yourself. So Tess, you're coming in at second, even though you did a very awesome, courageous thing. Ellie, I'm going to give her the MVP of the episode because I'm beginning to buy into her a bit more here. The character is going to be a little different, but we're starting to see that softer edge that I was kind of looking for. I guess it's good that you get to see a transformation and there's some kind of character arc. So it makes sense. Maybe I don't like her as much in the beginning, but, just as Joel, I think to an extent he's beginning to open up to her to some degree, almost out of necessity. We're going to be taking this journey together. This whole episode was basically just like a journey episode where we walked through, got to explore this world for the first time. So very loyal to the video game, very good intro to the Outside the QZ Zone episode. Super excited for episode 3. But Ellie, I am becoming a bit closer with her just because of her general, she's just a lot friendlier now than she had been in previous or the last episode there. So would love to see her continue to grow in this role. Like I said last episode as well, she's not poorly acted by any means. I just didn't love her episode or her character at the beginning, and that's fine as well. Other things and themes. So Ellie won that one for me. Other things and themes. World/setting. This one's gonna win for me. Other things, clicker sounds. So like I said, loved that shit. It was awesome. It's up there to some extent with that episode, or my favorite scene with that clicker scene. The flashback starts. Really enjoying those as well. And then finally, our Joel and Ellie relationship. Like I said earlier, it's almost like out of necessity. We are going to be coming close. This is Joel's mission now. This is his. Oh God, this is his mission now. Like, this is what he has to do. And it's giving him some kind of purpose. And it's, he has to reopen himself, or he's going to be forced to reopen himself to, his emotions. And it's something he's been fighting a while. So this will be fun to see how that relationship evolves, because it's always going to have that fun, witty, ball busting mentality. But at its heart, it's going to grow a bit more. So excited for that. I'm still going to go with the world setting as my favorite thing/theme from this episode. That makes our highlights of the episode. If you're new here, if you haven't seen it yet, if you just need a reminder from my 3 categories: favorite scenes, favorite characters, other things/themes, I take the winner of those and then I put them into competition between each other for the highlight of the episode. World/setting, Ellie, the winner of our characters, and then the clicker fight scene. I'm gonna put Ellie at 3 here. I am growing into her. Not fully there yet. She did win this episode, but there were only 2 other options. So not the most impressive thing, but Ellie, you are bringing me back. Clicker fight scene, I'm going to go number 2, and that gives us number 1 of world/setting. I think it just makes the most sense for me, and what defined this whole episode was just seeing this outside the QZ zone world for the first time. I thought it was lovely. It makes me excited to explore the rest of this world and see some of the iconic places from the movie or from the video game. Clicker fight scene with a good second show there, because we get to meet what these things can become now, and once again just sets the tone. It's like, fuck, this is a dangerous world. It's gonna be hard. Like, what are you supposed to do? How do you get away from? How are you supposed to fucking survive this shit? There's not a lot of answers there. It's hard. They got shit on the ground that knows when you kill them, so you're screwed if you do, you're screwed if you don't. It's a fucking scary world, and I think this episode really sets that tone. And overall, I think the highlight of the episode has to be that world/setting for me. But that'll do it, guys. We do have a new segment alert. Woo, woo, woo. New segment alert. We're going to do the Rotten Tomatoes reviews on these. So like I said, it's been fun to follow the success of this. We had questions. I had questions. But we'll go ahead and retroactively go over the episode number 1's Rotten Tomatoes score. It came back as a 100%. I think that might be a little high. I would give 100% to the very beginning of the episode. So, yeah, we'll give it 100%. That works. But the start of that episode is as good as TV gets, going back to that on episode 1. But honestly, going into episode 2, which falls at a 95%, the total show is sitting at, I guess, a 97.5 is what would put us halfway in between there. But 100% on episode 1, 95% on episode 2. I liked the first part of episode 1 better than episode 2, but I liked episode 2 better than the second part, so like the present day version of episode 1. So this episode was great, really enjoyed it, sets the tone once again, keeps up the positivity regarding the show, and apparently episode 3 is going to be one of the best. I think that's what the grapevine is saying there. We're going to meet some pretty fun characters from the video game, and overall just looking forward to another episode. Get that theme song started at 9 p.m. on Sunday night. But that'll do it for this episode as well, guys. Like I said, me and Mike are going to try to get back into the booth on Friday. We're going to do our favorite albums of the year, as the Grammys will be coming out not this Sunday, but the next Sunday after that. Oh man, that's going to be tough. We're going to have to maybe just have the Grammys rolling. The Grammys kind of fucking suck, I'll be honest. But it'll be something. It'll be something to watch. The Grammys aren't nearly as good as the Oscars, in my opinion, and the Oscars aren't even great either. But it's something to watch. It's fun. I enjoy it. But we'll be watching The Last of Us, no doubt. We'll get another episode out to you. This one's going to be coming out on a Wednesday. Last week it was a Friday. I don't know how consistent I'll be on the dates, but I will get it out every week. I will definitely try to. I've absolutely enjoyed and loved making these, so I'm going to continue doing these ones. I hope you're enjoying them as well. I hope you're enjoying the show. Same questions as last time. I would love to hear your perspective if you're new to it, if you never played the video game. If you played the video game, how are they doing? But other than that, guys, happy hump day. I appreciate all the support once again. I'll be seeing you on I guess sometime next week discussing this show. Make sure to get your popcorn ready for 9 p.m. HBO. The Last of Us episode 3 will be coming out. But other than that, guys, have a great week. Have a great rest of your week, I guess. So we're at the middle point here. All love. Keep doing your best. Keep hugging loved ones. Keep appreciating those around you. And don't take anything for granted, guys. Love you. Purple Podcast, episode number 36. Peace.